Hey guys, what is going on? It is Coach Will. In today's video, I want to talk about some metrics to shoot for in your gym or fitness business, or really any business for that matter. Any recurring revenue, membership-based, subscription-based business model can benefit from the knowledge in this video, even though it is pointed towards gyms and fitness studios. Could also be for like an online fitness business or an online coaching business. Any business where you have recurring revenue coming in. This will really apply to it. It also would apply to a lot of businesses that don't do a recurring revenue model and just understanding like cost per acquisition on a client versus what they're worth and things like that. So back at our last live event in April of this year, one of the segments we talked about at the Barbell Business Mastermind, which our next one is up and coming, by the way, in September 16th, live event in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're going to have 100 or so of the best gym owners there, masterminding and talking about growth and focusing on becoming better business owners together. And at that last live event in April, we talked about a segment I did. We went over metrics, like different metrics you should know, because really at the end of the day, like all a business really is a big feedback loop, right? So we give an input, we do something, and then there's an output, which is like a data set, a bit of information, and a result, right? And then if we have the data and the result, we can go back into that feedback loop and we can do more of it, right? If we know something works, if we know we spend $1 and it makes us $10, then we can go and just, keep that flywheel spinning, right? So we're going to talk about what the benefits of knowing your numbers are and what the numbers you should know are. So Nick here made a post in the Big Little Gyms Pro group. This is a group a private members only group that gym owners and fitness business owners have access to as clients of Big Little Gyms. And it's kind of like a mini mastermind of sorts that's included in addition to a bunch of the marketing stuff we do for our gyms. And the goal here is to really just build better business owners and not just only talk about marketing stuff. So in regards to being a good business owner, like you need to know your numbers. That's number one. If you don't know your numbers, like you're not really running a business, because businesses really are just numbers. So he went over some numbers here from the last event. Nick posted it, and he asked, what are some other numbers that we should add to this, which I'm going to expand on in this video here in a minute. But I'm going to just share the ones that he reiterated here. And he said a couple industry-wide metrics to shoot for that Will Hurst spoke about at the Miami event were website visits. Okay, so what percentage of visitors to our website should we be converting? So we should be converting a good metric. We should be converting about 10% of website visitors. Now, depending on your market and depending on the season, you could be converting a smaller amount. So what I mean by that is, like, say on your website itself, you should have a place where you can see website visitors, right? All the websites that we build for our gyms, we build some very impressive metric dashboards in the back end, so the gym owner can see how much traffic they're getting, where that traffic's coming from, and what things that people are clicking on. And one of the things we're always watching is like what percentage of visitors convert on this site, right? What I mean by convert is like that means they click a button, they open a form, and they fill out that form, and the gym owner now has a lead they can follow up with, or they go and book an intro at the gym, right? So we should be converting 10% of all website visitors to leads. Now, some websites do more. We have some gyms that get 15, 20% lead conversion rates. We have some gyms that get 5 to 10% conversion rates, but our average is about 10%, which is actually like really, really good. And it's because we hold ourselves a very high standard. The reason why is because we want to build something. If we're going to give a gym owner a website, we're not just going to build something they can build themselves. We're going to build something that's going to outplay what they can build themselves, and it's going to be very effective at turning traffic, visitors, into leads that we can actually reach out to and follow up with, because that is the end goal of a website or a landing page or a funnel, is to convert traffic into leads. There's no other purpose for a website on the internet in 2023 or beyond besides converting traffic into leads, right? Number two, 50% of leads booked into an appointment. So that means if you have 100 leads, we should be booking at least half of those leads that we get into appointments, right? That should be the rate that we book our leads into appointments, right? So if you got, say, 100 leads over a 2-month period and you only get 30 of them booked, that means your follow-up's not very good. That means you're not doing a very good job getting those people booked. And there's usually some symptoms. There's usually some behavior that's responsible for the symptom of the number, right? The number is just the symptom. The number is not the cause. The number is correlative, right? So if we know that we're booking less than 50%, the behavior we know that is not happening is that the gym owner or whoever they put in charge is not doing a good job of following up with their leads and getting them booked, right? This number can also skew depending on the quality of the leads they're getting, right? So if, say, you're running a lot of Facebook ads or a lot of paid advertising, naturally that expected number will dip, right? If someone was only getting leads off of Facebook, I would say you're probably going to really book more like 30% of your leads. If you're getting leads organically off of like a high quality search keyword through your website, you're probably going to book more like 60% of those leads, right? But if we're doing all these things and we're averaging them across the board, we should be booking half of the leads for an appointment. Number 3 here, show rate on leads booked, 70%, right? So that's our number for that. So what that means is if you have 10 people booked to visit this week and 7 show up, that's a 70% show rate, right? And that's what we should be looking at for show rate. And again, if we're below this, if it's only half the people are showing up, then usually what we've seen correct that in the past is having some good appointment confirmation follow-up workflows in place, including like reaching out if it's really bad, if you're in a really challenging market where there's a lot of no-shows and you are doing like automated follow-ups and confirmations with the lead to like make sure they're coming, then I would be picking up the phone, right? If you're not getting people to show up, I would call them when the lead comes in, and I would call them the day the lead is booked, or the lead is due to show up, right? So I would call them the day they book and say, hey, it's Coach Will over here at Spark CrossFit. I saw you just booked an intro to meet with me here on Saturday. I'm super excited to meet with you. I do have this time set aside for me and you to meet and connect. I want to make sure you're going to be showing up, so I'm just calling to confirm with you. And if they say, yeah, I'm going to be there, then 99 times out of 100, those people will usually show up, right? But if you don't do that and you're noticing the show rate is dipping below 70%, then you probably need to start doing that, right? It's really just cause and effect, right? And that like we need to start doing that because it's not even that people purposely always no show. It's that people do book things on the internet and then they get busy and life happens and they forget to put forget to put the thing on their calendar, and they don't block it out, or they don't place a significance on it, and something else pops up that day and they just forget, right? Because if it's not standing out in their mind, it'll just kind of camouflage into the blur of their day, right? So calling them and getting them to confirm with you makes a big difference. Number 4, 80% conversion rate on show leads, right? So when the lead shows up and they're sitting in front of you and you have the opportunity to sit down and close them, you should be converting 8 out of 10 people that walk in your gym, right? In other industries and other businesses, it's probably lower, but for gyms, we notice that if people show up in the door, if they walk through that threshold, they're usually signing up like 8 times out of 10 or higher, right? And that's also a good sign that you're probably priced too low if you are closing higher than that. We actually have kind of a counterintuitive look on this here at Big Little Gyms, and that's that like if you're closing more than 70% of your leads, that means you're probably priced too low because you should be getting more no's. Like the price, if more than 8 out of 10 people walk into your gym not knowing much about it and sign up, not understanding or expecting what it's going to cost, and they're not flinching when you say it's $200, then you probably need to raise the price to $250. Like you should have at least a couple people out of 10 saying no or flinching or objecting to the price, right? And the reason why you want to do that is because like you don't want to fill your gym up with underpriced people, right? And it's very easy to get caught in this trap if you're a new gym and you're lacking that confidence, or you just really need to make money, so you'll take whatever you can get, so you'll undersell yourself. But the problem is you get caught in that trap, and then you end up filling your gym full of people who aren't paying enough, and then you run out of space, and then you're not making any money, and you have overheads to do all that. So you want to be closing 80% or so or more of your show leads. And if you are consistently doing that, then eventually focus on maybe raising your prices to bring that conversion rate down a little bit once you feel confident doing that. Number 5 here, a 30% overall conversion rate, right? So if we do all the math across all those numbers, if we have 100 leads and 50% book, and then 70% of those show, and then 80% of those buy, we're going to end up with an overall 30% conversion rate, which means for every 100 leads we get, we're going to close 30, right? That's what we're looking for. That's what we're aiming for. That's what we built all our systems here at Big Little Gyms for our gyms, and what we coach our gym owners to do and give them the tools to do is to close at a 30% or better conversion rate. We quite often see gyms outperforming this. And again, these things are variable depending on your market, of course. There are highly competitive markets where gyms get lots of leads, but their people shop a lot more. But I would honestly say that this number here is pretty solid across the board, like 9 times out of 10 when we're working with a gym. A couple other metrics he said he was thinking about: a percentage of overall revenue for personal training and nutrition. Yes, you should definitely break out your individual revenue streams, right? You should figure out like what percentage of our people are buying revenue stream number 2 and revenue stream number 3. at our last event in April, we had our 50K club panel, and we had all of our gym owners up on a panel on the stage, doing Q&A for everybody else in the seats, asking like, hey, what percent, asking this, all these gyms that were really successful, asking them what percentage of their revenue was coming from other revenue streams. And we found that like almost every gym that was doing $50,000 or more a month in revenue was typically running a second revenue stream that was a pretty good percentage of revenue. Like their primary revenue stream would be like their core membership to their gym. That would always be like 60+% of their revenue. But then the next 20 to 30% of the revenue was coming from a secondary revenue stream, whether it was nutrition coaching, personal training, or both. They were making a good chunk of revenue on a secondary revenue stream, and they all knew what that amount was. Like if they didn't know it exactly, they knew right around what it was and what percentage it was. Percentage of overall revenue each month in merchant, retail, and food. Yes, of course, again, more just knowing what percentage of overall revenue or dollar amount in merchant and retail. Of course, because merchant and retail are just icing on the cake, right? Those are things like you can sell your people that they're probably going to buy if you put it out in front of them, and the margins on them are decent, right? If you could spend $1 on a energy drink and they spend $3 to buy it from you, then that's a 200% profit margin that you're making on the dollar you spent. So it's good to know what percentage of revenue you're generating from that. Average revenue from drop-ins. If you are a gym that takes drop-ins, he's by the San Diego airport, and he generates good revenue off of drop-ins. It's a great idea to break that out. Also, the reason why I like to break out these separate revenue streams is it kind of tells you how healthy your main revenue stream is, right? We have gyms that we work with that do a lot of revenue, but it fluctuates a lot because they're a drop-in gym. They're maybe in a location where they get lots of drop-ins, and their gym almost survives on that. And as a result, when it's the off season and people aren't traveling to their city, they have really tough months because they're dependent so much on the drop-ins, which really should be ancillary revenue, because you can't guarantee economically that you're going to keep getting the drop-ins because, there are times and seasons and entire years where people travel less because of whatever circumstances, right? So you want to make sure like your core revenue stream, which if it is a recurring subscription-based membership to your group fitness gym, that should be the healthiest thing in your business. And knowing these other revenue streams and how much they're helping prop up your business are important, because if any one of them starts to carry too much weight, it's not that you want to chop those down, you want to keep those going, but it might be that you want to beef up that core revenue stream and how much effort you're putting into growing that, right? Okay, going down into the conversation here, we had a few gym owners reply. Mike Monarch responded. He's a very successful gym owner in our program. Said here, average client value is a popular metric. Yep, average client value. I'm going to go over a couple here. Ryan Minaj, I think that's how you say his name, said, we don't push personal training either as far as metric for. I would suggest not trying to reach some arbitrary number. Okay, he's just kind of giving some perspective here. And then I'm going to go down here to what I responded with. I replied here and I said, Nick, I would add these critical additional ones, right? And these are more business health overview metrics I would add on top of your lead generation metrics, because a lot of the ones I just gave you are like lead generation and client acquisition metrics. Your website conversion rate, your lead booking rate, your lead show rate, your show to sold rate. All those things are client acquisition metrics, which like in the system of your client acquisition system in your gym, you should know those numbers all the time. Or at least be able to like have a centralized place where you can see them or know roundabout what they're at, right? And if they're poor, you should improve them, right? That's why you know them. Okay, now these are like business health metrics and scaling metrics, right? So in the world of business scaling, which isn't unique to gyms, I mean, really it's every business, ultimately their goal is to scale and reach whatever their potential is. These are some very popular metrics and that we have definitely applied towards gyms. Number one being ACV, as Mike Monarch just said, average client value, which is your monthly average revenue you're getting from your average member, right? So if you have say $20,000 in revenue coming in and you have 100 people paying your membership, that means your 20,000 divided by 100, that means it's $200 a month in average client value that you are charging, right? That's what you're collecting from those people. And that's just including across all the things they might spend money on. And you can also know average client value for just like individual revenue streams too. Like what does my average person spend on upsells like apparel and front desk items and things like that, like bars and drinks and things like that. Could also be what's my average client value off of personal training, what's my average client value off of nutrition coaching. At the very least, I would know the overall number. What's my average client value in total across all the money my average client spends? And it's simple math. It's literally total revenue divided by total enrolled active members, right? And you need to clean up your active member number on that and make sure you're not having things in there that don't count, like maybe like punch cards and drop-ins and stuff like that, because those wouldn't count, right? Number 2 of the overall scaling business metrics would be lifetime value. So how much average revenue a customer spends between day one, from their first dollar spent to the day they churn, right? So if an average member, say they just pay only just their membership their entire lifespan, which most people won't, they'll buy a bunch of other stuff along the way of being a customer. But say they just pay a $200 a month membership and they stay, say for easy math, they stay 20 months. So $200 a month times 20 months, that's a $4,000 average lifetime value. If, say, that's what all your members are doing, then that means your average lifetime value is $4,000. Now, what you're going to want to do is, this math is a little more involved. You're going to have to kind of more or less either have a system that can automatically do that and calculate that, which is a lot of them, automated ones that do it are sometimes off. I found what I would do myself is once a quarter, I would pull a spreadsheet of all my customers, and then I would look each customer up that was active right now, and I would find it, and then I would, in a couple clicks of a mouse, I could see how much they spent since day one, right? It was really easy. In my gym management software, I could click in there, I could click customer, and it would show it would show all their invoices. I would just add those up, and I would be able to see, okay, this person spent $3,000, and I put $3,000 next to their name. I go to customer number 2, and I'd see, okay, they spent $6,000. I put $6,000 next to their name. Customer number 4, and this would take me like an hour to do, to go through all my customers. I think when I had 300 customers, it took me a little bit longer. It took me like a better part of a morning, but eventually I had a front desk admin person that just did this for me. I just showed her how to do it. And then once a quarter, once every 3 months, I would tell her, like, hey, I need you to run that report for me and just get all that data to me. And then I would take all those people, say I had, 200 customers paying all these different amounts up until now, and I would average them out, which on a spreadsheet is very easy to do with an equals average, then highlight all the fields. And it would tell me my average customer is spending $2,875 to date, right? So that's my average lifetime value. Now, it's really important to know because, like, if I know my lifetime value, I know what a customer is worth to me. And I know if I sign someone today, it's not, oh, what did I collect from them today? It's like, oh, no, I'm probably likely going to collect from them what my average lifetime value is. So I have a lot more to be excited about when I sign a new customer than just one month membership from them, right? And also, like, in my mind, helps see how important new client acquisition is and how valuable it is to my client base. Because if I have an average client value of $400, and my average customer stays, 20 months, that means they're worth $8,000 over 20 months. Now, if I have 100 of those customers paying $8,000 over 20 months, it means I'm going to make $800,000 over those 20 months. Really easy to figure out how stacking average client lifetime value yields a certain amount of revenue over a certain period of time. Number 3 here is monthly and annual churn rate. So really important to know your churn rates, right? It's really important to the health of your client retention, right? So customer retention is like monumental for a business, right? Like if acquiring new clients is important, it would be secondary to keeping your existing ones. It's much easier to keep an existing client than it is to replace one. Right? So like, the last thing you want to be doing is be signing new members and doing all that work to sign new members. And at the same time, because your service and fulfillment processes are broken, you have people churning and leaving at the same rate people are coming in. You're actually doing more work that way, because what you really want to do is hopefully be churning at a much lesser rate than you're signing new members on, right? And if you're doing that, then you're offsetting the people that are leaving by some multiplier of new members. Right? And so you can feel it, you're making progress. What you don't want to do is get to a point where, like, the same, you're signing 10 people, but at the same time 10 people are walking out the door. That's what we call net zero churn. And you don't want to find yourself in a place of net zero churn. Next here, customer acquisition costs. What is it costing you to advertise, spend each month? What's it costing you in advertising spend each month to acquire a new customer? That's what that is, right? So like, what am I spending to get a new customer if I'm using paid advertising? And a lot of gyms we work with don't use a lot of paid advertising. Some of the bigger ones do. Some of the ones that are more growth oriented do, or the ones that are that just need to be competitive in the market do. If you're spending money on ads, you should be figuring out what it costs you to acquire one. So like, say this past month, I spent $1,000 on ads and I signed 10 new people. Then that would mean my client acquisition cost is what? $100, right? Easy math. $1,000 divided by 10 is $100. That means my customer acquisition cost is $100. And if I know my customer acquisition cost and I know my lifetime value, it's very easy for me to figure out how my money is going to multiply, right? And that leads me to my next one, which what I would call is the golden ratio of scaling any business, which is LTV to CAC ratio. CAC is CAC, customer acquisition cost, the one we just did, LTV to CAC. This is the ratio of how much you spend to acquire a customer versus what their lifetime value is. This is the golden ratio of scaling any business. This is what the biggest businesses in the world down to the smallest businesses in the world use, and bigger businesses are better about it because they're more data driven, because there's more analytics and more bright minds working on bigger businesses, and they think about things in terms of numbers, not emotions, right? So they're like, okay, it costs me $100 to acquire a customer, and the average customer, as of right now, based on my current member base, is spending about $3,000 to date with me. So that means I can spend $100, and then say I'm making $3,000 on a customer in revenue over 20 months. That means I could spend $100 now and grow that $100 to $3,000 in revenue in 20 months. Now, depending, your profit margin, of course, on that is not the same as what you're getting in revenue. But if your business is properly structured in regards to how much it spends and its margins, and you're pricing yourself appropriately and you're profitable, then naturally we can figure out, even if, say, out of that $3,000, $1,000 of it is profit and the other $2,000 is cost, which for a gym, it's going to be lower cost than that. It's probably going to be, if you have $3,000, your margin should be 50-60% on that, 'cause it's a service-based business. So if, say, it's 50% at $3,000, it means you're making $1,500 on the $100 you spent, right? So you need to know your LTV to CAC ratio. Very, very important. If you know that, then it pretty much turns you into a investor with your business, because you're like, okay, I'm not looking at ads as buying customers. I'm looking at ads as investing $1 in my company to get X amount of dollars back. Because say you are making $1,500 in profit on a customer over 20 months, and you're spending $100 to acquire them, that means you're turning $100 into $1,500 in profit over 20 months. That's a 1,500% return on investment, or return on your ad spend over 20 months, which that kind of return on money will beat flipping houses. It'll beat the stock market. It'll beat hedge funds. It'll beat anything, even in a down market, right? So you then can look at your business as like, well, where do I want to spend my money? I've got money to spend. I got capital. I've profited. I want to reinvest this money to work for me. What should I do? Oh, I can do it in my own business, because every customer I acquire is worth so much more than what it cost me to get them, right? So, in review, guys, ACV, average client value, LTV, customer lifetime value, monthly and annual churn rate as a percentage, right? So easy to figure that out is, okay, I've got 150 active members this month right now at the end of the month, and I lost, for easy math, say 15. That would be 10%, because 15 is 10% of 150, right? Now 10% would be very, very high. If you lost 10% of your members in a month as a gym, I would be very, very concerned. For most gyms, you're looking at a LTV or a churn rate should be around like 2%. 2-3% for most gyms under a couple hundred members. As you grow beyond a couple hundred members, your churn rate will grow, because naturally you're a bigger business, and it's going to happen. It goes up inevitably. Okay. And then the last couple of questions here that Nick had in this questions he was asking me was, could you remind me if these numbers are about right? Which he was just confirming the client acquisition numbers earlier, which is 10% of incoming leads, converting incoming visits to leads. That is correct. 50% of leads for booking an appointment. That is correct. 70% show rate on leads booked. That is correct. 80% conversion on shown leads. That is correct. And 30% overall conversion rate. That is correct. Now, these are numbers to shoot for, and keep in mind that that's not necessarily, that's not like the middle ground average. That's like if you're doing an excellent job, and we do have gyms that outperform those numbers quite frequently here at Big Little Gyms. So hope you guys really enjoyed this video, found it informative. Like, this stuff here is like really, this is not subjective advice on like, what you should do kind of stuff. This is like, if you're running a business and your goal is to grow this business and build a real business out of it that someone else might one day either want to run or buy from you at a reasonable evaluation, because that's how you should build your business. You should build your business as if one day I'm going to sell it. Now, right now, if you're right in the middle of the honeymoon phase of your business, you probably can't imagine selling it. But I'll tell you that building a business to sell will help you build a business that gives you the most freedom, because you have the option to, whenever you want, to exit and go do something else if you don't want to, because it's profitable and someone else will want to buy the business off you. It also helps you build a business that you are more likely to want to keep, because any business someone would want to buy would be one you would probably want to own yourself, right? So you should build your business to sell. Now, how you build a business to sell is the numbers. When you go to sell a business, someone's going to pay a price for it. Now, if you don't have any numbers and all you have is a bunch of equipment, what's the obvious thing they're going to base the business's value on is what the equipment's worth, which the equipment is only going to be worth a fraction of what your actual revenues are, right? So, if you spent $100K on equipment, but you have $1 million in revenue in the gym, but you can't show someone these numbers and how you make your $1 million and that it's repeatable and replicatable for them if they were to own this business, they're not going to pay much more than $100,000 in equipment, and you're going to lose all that upside that you built. Now, if you have all these numbers and you show them that you've been doing this for a long time and what things do what and what systems are in place, you have a system like Big Little Gyms in place that helps almost guarantee you hit these numbers, along with like good guidance and structure and advice like this, then naturally, like, that person is more likely to pay some multiple of what your revenue is to acquire the business off of you, because most people that buy businesses aren't buying them to make profit on day one. They will usually buy the business, pay a premium on the business so you can walk away happy with the deal, and they will usually aim to make their money in year 2 or year 3. But they need to know that what they're buying has consistent numbers, so by year 2, year 3, they know they're going to be able to get their investment back out of it and start to make some money themselves. That's how people acquire businesses and why people acquire businesses, right? So that's it, guys. Now, if you want some help with some stuff like this, you want to be able to have conversations like this, you want systems in place, lead generation, client acquisition, fulfillment systems, growth engines for your gym to grow. And one of the things that we love to do is help gyms 2 to 3x their lead generation, client acquisition within the first 30 days without spending money on ads or discounting services. Then go to biglittlegyms.com, biglittlegym.com, and click the Get Started button. When you click that button, up will pop a form. You fill out that form. It'll take you over to book an intro and ask you a little bit of basic information on us. That intro is a discovery call, so we'll sit down and talk about your gym's current situation. We'll sit down and go over some things on that call that are going to be worth your time on that call. And at the end, of course, I'll tell you what we can do for you based on what I'm seeing and what, of course, it looks like to get started and working with us. So that's it. Go to biglittlegyms.com. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.